I gave up my inheritance to pay off my wife's debt. She celebrated by throwing me a loser party with her friends. They all wore "I married a doormat" shirts. I didn't argue. I just left. Last week, she was crying outside my office holding a sign that said, "Please talk to me." I came home to find a cardboard cutout of myself, life-sized, grinning like an idiot with the words "Mr. Betabucks" written across my chest in glittery purple Sharpie. It was standing right in front of our fireplace. Wearing one of my old suits. There were confetti remnants on the carpet. Solo cups on every surface. A broken piñata hanging from the ceiling fan. And taped to the TV in bold letters, "Congrats on being broke and boring." That's how I found out my wife threw a loser party. It gets worse. They wore custom t-shirts. Her friends. 5 of them. Bright pink with neon letters that read, "I married a doormat." Mine said #DebtDaddy on the back. I only know because someone, probably Jamie, posted a TikTok of the whole thing. It had 93,000 views by the time I watched it. There was a cake. A literal cake. Lying face down in a puddle of spilled icing under the words "RIP Financial Freedom." I didn't yell. Didn't flip the table. I just stood there watching her scroll through her phone, half laughing, half snorting at her own captions. I said, "That's it." She didn't even look up. I packed a backpack. The same one I used when I went camping last year, the one she made fun of for being too outdoorsy. I took my wallet, laptop, a change of clothes, and left my wedding ring on the edge of the sink like it was loose change. She didn't ask where I was going. She just said, "Don't forget your loser merch." 3 years ago, I met her at a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital. She was vibrant, fearless, a little reckless in a way that felt magnetic. She was managing a local art gallery that was, let's be honest, hemorrhaging money. But she had plans. She had charm. She made you feel like failure was just a setup for something dazzling. She told me she was drowning in student loans and business debt from trying to bring beauty into the world. I grew up conservative with money. Accountant dad. Spreadsheet vacations. Risk-averse everything. But she was fire. And I mistook that for direction. So when her creditors started circling, I did what I thought love was. I helped. And by helped, I mean I gave up the one thing that separated me from every other man she knew. My inheritance. $186,000. That's what my grandfather left me. Not just for me for the future. For a down payment on a house. A kid's college fund. Security. Roots. She cried when I offered. Said I was the only man who ever really believed in her. She told everyone. Her mom. Her exes. Her followers. That's how I knew it wasn't about relief. It was about power. About what she could get people to do. In hindsight, that should have been the first flag. But I stayed. She promised a fresh start. That we'd rebuild. That we'd grow our own gallery together. We even registered a joint LLC. She named it Resurrect. The irony kills me now. What actually happened? She used the money to pay off the flashiest debts, then started spending again. Brunches. Botox. Boutique therapy retreats. Networking trips with women who only existed on curated Instagram grids. Meanwhile, I worked 2 jobs. Managed her books. Built her website. Smiled through late rent and bad checks. Became her emotional shock absorber while she chased dopamine dressed as dreams. Then came the shirts. The party. The #DebtDaddy. And not one of her friends, not one, thought to tell her it was messed up. Because they weren't friends. They were vultures with ring lights. Each of them owed someone something. Each of them thought it was hilarious to mock the one guy stupid enough to clean up after their queen. After I left, I checked into a cheap extended stay motel across town. Ate vending machine soup and stared at the ceiling. Thought about what it meant to be loved only as long as you stayed useful. Then I did something I hadn't done in 2 years. I checked my personal email. And that's when I saw it. Buried in spam. Subject line, outstanding asset notification. Turns out my grandfather didn't just leave me money. He left me property. A 2-acre lot and a shack of a building on the edge of a dying town deeded to me directly. It wasn't worth much, but it was mine. Untouched. Untouched by her. And that's when the gears started turning. Because if I was a doormat, I had just been flipped over. This isn't revenge. Not yet. But the part she never considered, the part her friends laughed off in DMs and group texts, was that while she played influencer, I learned how to vanish. And just maybe, how to win without even being in the room. More soon. What comes next makes the shirts look tame. Update 1. The TikTok of my loser party got taken down. Community guidelines violation, targeted harassment. I didn't report it. Someone else did. My guess? Her boss. Because last night, I got a LinkedIn message from someone named Kendra who manages marketing for the boutique agency where my wife worked. The message was short. Brutal. Saw the video. We'll be in touch. Not the look we want associated with our brand. It wasn't about sympathy. It was damage control. And I laughed. For the first time in a week, I actually laughed. Because my wife, who once said I was lucky to be orbiting her world, was now publicly crashing. That morning, I'd driven past our old apartment just once. I don't know why. Call it masochism. Call it curiosity. Her car was gone. But taped to the window? A paper sign. Stop saying he's broke. I'm the one who's broken. In her handwriting. Black marker. All caps. Crooked like her mascara always was when she fake cried. I didn't go up. I didn't text her. I just drove. Out past the city limits. Out to the 2-acre lot my grandfather left me. I hadn't seen it in person. Just a few grainy photos from the county assessor. It was bleak. The shack on it looked like it had been attacked by time and mold. Caved-in roof. Rusted tools still hanging inside like ghosts forgot them. But there was something sacred about it too. Untouched. Unbothered. Mine. And then right there, in the middle of it, I decided something. I wasn't going to explain myself. Not to her. Not to her friends. Not to anyone who thought the words beta, doormat, or weak were weapons. I was going to build something. On these bones. That night, I started liquidating what I had left in joint accounts. Not everything, just enough to make her realize how bad she'd messed up. I closed the business credit card. Removed myself from the LLC. Set alerts on every financial app so I'd be notified if she tried anything shady. The next day, she called 17 times. I didn't answer. She texted. You said you wouldn't abandon me. They fired me because of that stupid party. It was supposed to be a joke. Do you want me to disappear? Is that what you want? That last one? Came with a photo. Her standing in the shower, fully clothed, makeup streaked, looking lost. I stared at it. Not because I believed her, but because I remembered the first time she ever mentioned her ex. He said I was too much, she told me once. He said I manipulated people. She'd laughed when she said it. Like it was an inside joke. That night, I sent one text. I think you should get help. No response. The next morning, someone slid an envelope under the door of my motel room. No address. Just my name scrawled in lipstick red ink. Inside? A Polaroid. Of her, crouched outside my office building, holding a sign that said, please talk to me. Like something out of a teenage rom-com. Except it wasn't funny. It was desperate. And theatrical. And sad in a way I don't even have words for. I watched the security footage later. She stood outside for 2 hours. At one point, she sang. Loudly. Off-key. One of her wedding songs. The receptionist eventually called building security. They asked her to leave. She cried. Clutched her sign like it was sacred scripture. One of the interns gave her a bottle of water and a granola bar. She posted about it later on her private Insta. Caption, sometimes love means standing in the rain until someone forgives you. It wasn't raining. But hey, never let the truth ruin the story. What she doesn't know, what none of them know, is that I've been documenting everything. The party. The shirts. The financial abuse. Because here's the truth, if you ever feel insane for quietly tolerating humiliation, the most dangerous thing you can do is start collecting evidence. I've got voice memos. Screenshots. A copy of our wedding prenup, notarized and timestamped. She's violated 4 clauses already. And if she keeps spiraling, that number's gonna double. What comes next isn't loud. It's not public. It's precise. She thought I was a doormat. She didn't realize that the thing about doormats? Sometimes we're just waiting for the right boots to walk away in. More soon. Update 2. The thing that finally broke her wasn't me ignoring her. It was the silence from her friends. The same women who'd filmed the loser party. The ones who laughed in coordinated crop tops and clinked glasses over my drained inheritance. One by one, they started deleting her. Not quietly either, no one follows, no ghosting. Just blunt public statements. Jamie posted a story. Sometimes you realize your ride or die was just the drunk driver. I'm out. Caitlin commented on a TikTok compilation of the party. Not proud of this. I enabled it. That's on me. Don't DM me about her, I'm done. Even Tasha, who once called me the world's most boring man, posted a tweet that went viral. It's wild how some people will destroy the only stable thing in their life and call it freedom. They didn't do it because they grew a conscience. They did it because sponsors started pulling out. Turns out, making a mockery of your husband for paying off your debt doesn't play well in the girl boss empowerment algorithm. Brand deals dried up. Collaborations vanished. Her once daily affirmations got replaced with cryptic quotes about betrayal and watching your circle shrink. She blamed me. Of course she did. I started getting emails from burner accounts. Messages like, you don't get to erase me. You tricked everyone into thinking I'm a villain. You made me unlovable. One of them? With my face scribbled over. She knew where I was. That was clear. She just didn't know what I was planning. See, after I found the deed to the land my grandfather left me, I started digging. Turns out the lot was zoned residential commercial. Which meant I could build on it. Flip it. Rent it. Whatever I wanted. So I called in some favors. Ronnie, my old mentor, knew a guy who did inspections off the books. Zoe, my ex-paralegal friend, helped me file an LLC to funnel everything through. The shack? It wasn't salvageable. But the lot? It was gold. In a town where no one was watching. And then it hit me. I wasn't just going to move on. I was going to erase her. Publicly. She had built her entire online identity around reclaiming her power. Her story, our story, was the spine of her brand. She gave interviews about me. Wrote tweets about me. Posted skits mocking me. I was her clout. So I went to the one place she never thought I'd touch, the trademark office. See, when she started her brand, she registered the LLC. But not the name. Not the actual phrases she used on merch, mugs, t-shirts. Det Daddy. Married a doormat. Beta Bucks Club. All hers. All unprotected. Yeah? All mine. Took a few weeks. Some paperwork. A lawyer friend who owed me a favor. Cost me $800 total. Worth every cent. I filed trademarks on all of it. And then, in the biggest flex of all time, I launched a storefront. Same branding. Same catchphrases. Except now, the joke's on her. The site tells the real story. My story. A man who gave everything to someone who mistook empathy for weakness. Who watched his own kindness get turned into punchlines. And who turned that humiliation into something profitable. First batch of shirts sold out in 4 days. Det Daddy is now a bestseller. Beta Bucks Club has a waitlist. Someone even asked to use the phrases in a podcast episode about narcissistic abuse. She went ballistic. Sent me a cease and desist. My lawyer sent back a 3-word reply. You should have filed. The next day, she showed up outside my new property. The shack was gone by then. Bulldozed to make room for what will eventually be a counseling retreat, small cabins, nature trails, a fire pit. A place for people who've been used, laughed at, discarded. She stood there in high heels on uneven dirt, mascara streaked again, yelling about betrayal. She said I was the narcissist. That I'd stolen her voice. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just handed her a flyer. It had the logo of the retreat. A tagline underneath. Some scars deserve sunlight. She crumpled it and threw it at my chest. I picked it up, dusted it off, and kept walking. I won't lie, part of me still hurts. Still remembers what it was like to be her husband. To believe in her. To think I was building something real. But pain doesn't mean regret. Regret is wanting to go back. Pain means you made it through. And me? I'm building a goddamn monument to every man who ever thought loving hard meant being weak. She made me a doormat. I made the doormat a legacy. And she'll see it. Every time someone wears the merch. Every time someone tags me instead of her. Every time she tries to tell her side and realizes I legally own the punchline. Update 3. Last week, she broke into my office. She didn't smash a window. She didn't pick a lock. She used charm, asked the janitor to let her in real quick. I forgot my husband's lunch. He didn't know we'd been separated for months. She left a box on my desk. Wrapped in red ribbon. No note. Inside? My old wedding ring. Dipped in black paint. One of her old pregnancy tests and used. A Polaroid of us from 2 years ago, cut in half. A USB drive labeled proof. I didn't touch it. I sat there and stared at it for a long time. The paint on the ring had started to chip. The photo had water damage. The USB felt like bait. When I finally plugged it in on a burner laptop, it was what I expected. Videos. Recordings. Not of me. Of her. Sitting in our old living room. Talking to the camera. Sobbing. Rambling. One video was titled, "He's Going to Destroy Me." Another, I thought he'd never leave. The last one? Just a file name. How to win him back. I watched it 3 times. She tried everything: flattery, tears, manipulation, emotional games, open confessions. She admitted she never expected me to walk. Said he was the one constant. I thought he'd tolerate anything. Then she said something that stuck. If I can't get him back, I'll make sure no one else wants him. I haven't stopped thinking about that. Because she meant it. Since launching the site, I've had 2 brand partnerships pull out quietly. One cited reputation risks. One sent a link to a Medium post. She wrote it anonymously. It painted her as the survivor. I was the emotional manipulator. She said I weaponized money to control her, isolated her from support, humiliated her publicly after years of private cruelty. There were no names. But there were enough details to connect dots. And people did. The comments were split. Some believed her. Others knew the real story. But none of it mattered. Once suspicion enters the bloodstream, it never fully leaves. I should have been furious. Instead, I was tired. This wasn't revenge anymore. It was rot. Spreading backwards into memories, forward into reputation, sideways into every moment I tried to rebuild. And for the first time, I considered quitting. Not just the brand. The whole story. Leaving the retreat unfinished. Shutting down the storefront. Burning the rest of the merch. Vanishing. But then something happened. An email came in. From a guy named Eric. Subject line, "Thank you for Beta Bucks." He wrote, "Your story made me feel sane. My wife drained my savings and mocked me when I cried. Said I was weak. That no real man begs. I thought about ending it twice. Then I saw your site. I bought the mug. I laugh every time I drink from it. You gave me back my dignity. That matters." There were more. Dozens. Some from men. Some from women. Some from people who didn't even date but just related. To humiliation. To giving everything and being made into a joke. They said what she never did. Thank you. So I stayed. And now? The retreat opens in 6 months. It's called The Leftovers. For anyone discarded, laughed at, written off. We'll have therapy cabins. Journaling decks. A bonfire circle for people to say what was never said. And in the center? A plaque. Simple. Steel. Weathered. It reads, "Dedicated to the people who were too good to be loved properly by the ones they loved most." She still texts sometimes. Mostly spirals. Sometimes apologies. Sometimes threats. I don't answer anymore. But I don't block her either. Because I want her to see. Every new hoodie shipped. Every new story shared. Every piece of peace she failed to destroy. This was never about revenge. It was about reclaiming the narrative. And when she finally realizes she isn't the main character anymore, that'll be the coldest ending of all. Final update soon. I'll tell you what she did next. And how I made sure she couldn't do it again. Update 4. The last thing she ever sent me was a video of her burning the Debt Daddy hoodie. She filmed herself throwing it in the trash. Held up a sign that said, "Congratulations. You finally made me disappear." The caption underneath? "When a man turns your pain into merch." It got 28,000 views. Then it got flagged. Then it got forgotten. But me? I didn't forget. Because the next day I got a letter from her attorney. She was suing me for emotional distress, misappropriation of image, and my personal favorite, intentional brand sabotage. It was the most expensive tantrum I've ever seen. She claimed The Leftovers was based on her. Said the t-shirts borrowed her aesthetic. That my entire narrative empire was built on lies. She even included screenshots of our old texts. Tried to frame them as proof of manipulation. What she didn't know, I had more than texts. I had everything. Emails, voice memos, surveillance footage of the loser party, testimony from coworkers she verbally abused, former friends she used for clout, a statement from my therapist detailing the financial and psychological abuse I endured. Even Ronnie, who's about as emotionally expressive as a toaster, wrote a sworn affidavit. And the kicker? Zoe found out that she used joint funds from our shared LLC to buy the materials for the "I Married a Doormat" shirts. Which means I own part of the party. Legally, we didn't even make it to court. Her lawyer dropped her the week before discovery. Zoe and I countersued for defamation and breach of contract under our prenup. She settled in mediation. She paid me $18,600. It's poetic, really. The exact amount she told me she needed when I first gave up my inheritance. I donated the whole sum to a nonprofit that provides legal aid to men experiencing domestic and emotional abuse. She knows. I made sure the press release included her original LLC name. That was 3 months ago. She moved, changed her number, went private on all platforms. I still get Google alerts every so often. She tried to rebrand as a healing mentor under a different name. Launched a blog. 1 post. No followers. It was titled, "Forgiveness is Survival." I didn't read it, but I read every comment. Most were bots. 2 were real. One said, "Weren't you the girl who mocked your husband on TikTok?" The other, "Forgiveness only works when the person stops swinging." Today, I live in a cabin behind the main house at The Leftovers. It's not fancy, but it's mine. People come and go. Some stay for a weekend. Some stay for a month. We've had ex-pastors, teachers, a father who raised 3 kids while his wife gambled away their home, a woman who donated a kidney to her fiancé only to have him leave her 2 months later for a coworker. They all come here thinking they're broken. They leave knowing they were just too whole for the people who tried to split them apart. Sometimes I sit by the fire pit and reread the messages. The one from Eric. The ones that poured in after we launched the store. People sending photos in their shirts, standing tall in their kitchen, their office, their child's graduation. I don't wear mine much anymore. I don't need to. But I keep the original hoodie, the one she mocked, framed in the entryway of the main cabin. Next to it, a screenshot. Her TikTok. Caption. Imagine giving up your future for someone who can't even keep their own lights on. Likes 94,201. And underneath? A single comment. Mine. Imagine becoming your own punchline. That's it. There's no epilogue where we reconnect. No final text message that softens the ending. No awkward birthday card 3 years later that makes it all seem human again. Because this wasn't human. It was surgical. She chipped away at the parts of me she could control. And when I bled too slow for her tastes, she laughed. So I didn't destroy her. I did something worse. I lived. In spite of her. Because the truth is, every person who tries to reduce you to a footnote in their story, they never expect you to pick up the pen and write your own. One where they never make it past the preface. Goodbye. And if you're reading this and you've been through it too, you're not a doormat. You're a survivor. Now get up and start writing.